For all intents and purposes, this is the Fast and Furious episode, where Mike poses as a street racer in order to get in closer with the Chang brothers, whom are suspected of smuggling sophisticated technology out of the country. Speaking of the Fast and the Furious, it should be noted that Sun Kang, who plays Ian, also played Han Solo in the movie franchise. The episode gets off to an explosive start, in the literal sense of the word, as Mike and Kit race against Johnny Chang in a supercar of his own, which Kit identifies as using modified rocket fuel, as this prompts Kit to transform into attack mode in order to gain any ground, but then transforms back during turbo boost, which causes Kit problems as his AI crashes. That, to me, doesn't make any sense, as Kit has nanotechnology that heals himself. Surely that contradicts the capabilities of his nanoskin. Had this been the original Kit, some call him Kit Classic, I call him Kit Prime, then this would not have been even an issue, considering that even without his molecular bonded shell in Season 4's opener, Night of the Juggernaut, of which is one of X24 Rider's favourite episodes, how you doing by the way, buddy? He turbo boosted a good 20 feet without any damage whatsoever. So, right there, that shows that the writers did not research the original series thoroughly enough, considering that Knight Rider SG is a continuation of the franchise, not a reboot, like so many critics seem to get wrong. Just even ask Justin Bruning. He says this is a continuation, not a reboot. But I digress. The only real pieces of the writing that I found redeeming was seeing the layer of Mike's past being revealed as he met up with an old army buddy in Sean, who runs a bar alongside the street racing route, and learning that more of his past is being covered up when he sees classified files on Kit's hood, but then is unable to retrieve them later, which leads him and the audience to believe that someone is purposely keeping him from remembering his past. And seeing Kit learning and understanding the concept of friendship as his personality continues to develop and evolve as he watches a Western movie, paying attention to the narrative of its characters. Val seemed much more relaxed with his delivery, which is fitting, as since the character is learning, it only makes sense that Val would deliver his lines more convincingly. The 3D object generator that Kit uses to replicate a car key similar to that of Johnny's car is not as far-fetched as people might think, since 3D printing has become somewhat more commercial and accessible in the last few years. You know, this was practically saying, hey, this is going to be a thing. An amusing aspect is seeing Mike practically drooling over the camera feed of bikini-clad girls coming from Sarah's sunglasses camera. I think most guys appreciated that scene, that and the bikini Sarah was wearing. And she's right, she looks better in a bikini than Mike does. Although that said, Justin in a bikini is a mental picture nobody wants to see. That's disturbing. I found that this episode was a step above the opener and didn't have so much baggage attached to it, and just allowed Mike and Kit to get on with the job at hand, and Torres not being so much of a douche. But it didn't feel like it was quite enough of a Knight Rider episode. Now, I appreciate that's probably a bias on my behalf in making comparisons with Knight Rider G1, and I accept that outright. But when you're producing a continuation based on the original series of the same name, you have to try and incorporate enough of the original elements so that people can identify with what they're watching, but also recognize that it's trying to be its own identity. But I get the impression they were trying to distance themselves a little from that and borrow from other elements, as I mentioned in the last issue. But it's not just this Knight Rider that was being a trend follower instead of a trend setter. If you look at the current James Bond series, that's practically screaming that it's ripping off the Bourne identity. Let's just call it for what it is. So, yeah, a step above Knight in Shining Armor, but still could have been done better. Until next time, good night from the Knight.